The good thing about going after Gil is you don't have to say much. I echo everything that Gil has said, but I'd like to take it up a notch. What we need to be even more deeply troubled about in this province is, it's not the government of Canada, it's not the Harper Conservatives, it's not the government of Alberta, it's not the Alberta Conservatives that own our resources. We own our resources. We've got two governments here and in Ottawa who are fast-tracking the exploitation of these resources. For whose benefit? And once you begin to take a look at that, and you look at this fast-tracking and the program that Gil's talking about, where the industry in Alberta have been able to persuade the people who you elect and are supposed to represent your interests are not looking after your interests. They're not looking after the interests of your children. They're not looking after the interests of the jobs of the future for your children and your grandchildren. And so we need to stand back and hold these governments accountable in our interests.
Hear, hear.
I want to thank the ironworkers for taking the time they spent with me yesterday to tell me in greater detail about what's going on with the temporary foreign worker program. And I want to take my hat off to those ironworkers who are very clear, as Gil has said, there is no resentment to those desperate workers from other countries who have been brought here simply to earn an income to look after their families.
Hear, hear.
But these workers deserve the same chance that many of our families had to come to this country, get established, bring their families, and contribute to the community, not a modern slave trade. You know, yesterday the federal government tabled yet another omnibus budget bill. And in that budget bill there are another several dozen laws that they're amending. They're bringing forward additional changes to the temporary foreign worker program. They're calling for increased penalties. Okay, this is a government that claims to be law and order, but it's sure not law and order in the interests of Canadian workers. As Gil says, we don't need more penalties. We need this federal government to step up to the plate and start enforcing the laws that are already there, both for the protection of Canadian workers and for the protection of the foreign workers who are coming here. I have heard story after story after story of the abuse of these workers. It is a shame on us that this program continues, but it is also a shame that our Canadian workers are being shunted aside simply for a fast buck so that people can ship raw bitumen out of this country.
Big oil needs more money.
And, you know, as we are standing here, we have the Truth and Reconciliation Forum going on across there. And I encourage you, if you have not gone in there, just to pay tribute and to listen to some of these stories. I was told by the ironworkers that in the workers that were displaced by the temporary foreign workers brought in, Croatian workers, some of those were First Nation peoples. And they have a benefit agreement, right? The only thing that those communities up north are getting is they're getting a handful of jobs out of this oil sands industry. Even they were displaced. So this is a deep-seated undermining of all segments of our society. And I think that we need to come together with the First Nation peoples up there. We need to come together with all of the workers and the fantastic unions that have been standing up day after day. We need to reveal what's going on behind the scenes with these companies. You know, it's not the Imperial Oils, the Suncor, Syncrudes. They hide behind these other companies who are bringing in these contract workers. And with the fast tracking that's going on, we're discovering those workers are being brought in even before you know that your job's about to be gone. So, you know, you can't say the opposition can't have any success in Parliament. In one day, Jason Kenney denied that they were driving down the salaries of temporary foreign workers by 15%. And by the end of that day, he agreed to get rid of that driving down of the salaries. But we need your support. We need you howling about this program. This is the perfect moment We're debating this budget implementation bill. I want to get letters from all of you so I can stand up in the House of Commons, so I can give your emails to my colleagues and they can stand up and say, I am quoting an Alberta worker, a family of an Alberta worker, a son and daughter of an Alberta worker who are saying, end this program, provide justice to all workers in Canada. Thank you.
Sir, Travis. Go ahead, brother.
Hi, everybody. My name's Travis Johnston. I am a proud father of 4 children, 9 through 12. I also have another child on the way in a few months. I speak on behalf of my children and yours today. I am a longtime member of, as well as supporter of organized labor. In the recent past, all Canadians have witnessed the regression of labor standards and market share with respect to my countrymen and women. I can assure that I wish no ill will on any human being trying to better their lives and the futures of their families. I do, however, struggle with the lack of concern our government has shown for its citizens, whom have with great trust placed them in power as representatives of our great nation. Our government has faltered in many ways by failing to represent the best interests of Canadian citizens. When I look out here today at every face before me, I see your children looking back at me and their birthright to a prosperous future and decidedly unstable future.
Hear, hear.
Whether you are union or otherwise, it pains me to see Canadians being left behind in big businesses' attempts to eliminate the middle class by outsourcing employment opportunities to increase profits by theirs. Sorry about this, I'm a pipe fitter. This is no longer about organized labor. It's about protecting the prosperity of our future's generations. There comes a time, and today is the day we say enough is enough. Canadians first!
Love being 5'0". So welcome to all of you, and thank you to all of you for coming out today. You're being here today. You're holding those signs. You're cheering. You're talking to your neighbors. This is the kind of thing that is going to get rid of this program once and for all. Now, we've had a lot of people already talk to us about why this program is bad, and we've heard about facts and figures and all those things, but I want to introduce you to a couple of people that I just asked who their names were, Kyle and Michael. Now, our last speaker kind of touched on this. We're here today because this is not just about what's going on today. This is about a vision that this Conservative government has, whether in Alberta or in Ottawa. This vision is about getting a whole very small group of people a heck of a lot richer and making the rest of us pay for it with lower wages and fewer jobs and lower quality of life. That's not the kind of Alberta that we want. That's not the kind of Canada that we want. That is not the future that we want for our kids. The jobs our grandparents had, the jobs our parents had, the jobs we used to have, some of us, those jobs need to be there for our kids and their kids going forward. And it's up to us to make sure they are. It is very clear. There is no worker shortage in this country. That's clear enough. What there is a government that sat down behind closed doors with big business who came up with a plan to press down workers' wages, workers' rights, workers' compensation, and workers' jobs. That's what's going on in this country. That's not fair. That's not Canadian values. That's not Alberta values. And that's not going to continue. I want to tell you that if the NDP becomes government, when the NDP becomes government. Now, I'm only provincial, and I know some of this is federal and some of this is provincial, but I'll say this. This temporary foreign worker program would be scrapped. And let me tell you that anything that employers said needed to replace it, and any discussions about how we would replace it would not take place without labor and workers at the table standing up for your rights and making sure that nothing happens that isn't for the best interests of the greatest number of Albertans and Canadians across this country. The final thing that I want to say is this. We've heard story after story after story about the exploitation and the suffering that occurs right under our noses in our province by temporary foreign workers being exploited by employers who are not policed. Now, to me, I gotta tell you, this is very, very disturbing to me. I am proud that we live in a country and a province that is prosperous, but as far as I'm concerned, I am not proud and I cannot accept economic prosperity that is earned at the expense and the suffering and the exploitation of other people. That is simply not acceptable. The government claims it has rules in place. Let me tell you, those rules are nothing but lip service. Gil made the point, they are never enforced. So it's meaningless, absolutely meaningless. We go back to our first point. This is now and always has been an employer business written plan to get a whole bunch of money to a whole group of very small people. No, not small people, a small group of big people, and to take it away from us, and that's got to stop. So I'm going to pass you over to my colleague David Eggen, who's going to say a couple of words, and I just want to say, do not oh, sorry, one more thing I had to say. Next week, 2 weeks from now, the budget is being discussed in Alberta. And I get to have a meeting, a one-on-one, sort of on the record, with Thomas Lukazik, where we're going to get a chance to talk about what they're funding and what they're doing and what their program is doing. I urge you to come to that meeting. It is open to the public. I urge you to come in and to be there when we're talking about this program. I also urge you to email to me your personal stories about how the temporary foreign program has impacted your life, so that I can tell those stories to the minister when we're having that debate in a couple weeks. Rachel at rachelnotley.ca. Send me your stories. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Rachel. And my name is Dave Eggen. I'm the MLA for Edmonton Calder with the Alberta New Democrats. And I stand together here with you and with all of our colleagues in solidarity to get rid of this temporary foreign working program. When I go around into my constituency, I will run across houses that are being used for temporary foreign workers, and it's like something out of the 19th century. The guy that owns the house also owns the Tim Hortons down the road where all of the temporary foreign workers work. I mean, that's so unacceptable. They pay their wages to them. It's like some kind of going back 100 years in terms of labor. And when I look across the world, we got to use common sense here. Learn from other people's mistakes and don't repeat them here in Canada. In countries where they've used temporary foreign worker programs, places like in Europe and in Saudi Arabia, in Israel, it's undermined not just the economy and the wages of those places, but it eats away, I say, too, at the culture and the soul of your community as well. Because if you're bringing people in to do the work that you're not going to do and you're paying them a dirt poor wage, that lessens you as a human being and as a community too. That's not the way we do things here in Canada. That's not the way we do things here in Alberta. There is a better way. Alberta New Democrats will stand with you through thick and thin, and we'll put this to rest, and we'll make something that we can be all proud of. Thank you very much.